Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, please put your hands together for Gideon AI.
Alright, so with this deck, you're going to want to be rushing face real early with all of your creatures, and then, hopefully, in the mid to late game, be drawing your burn cards, so that you can get around guards, and make sure to finish off your opponent. You have a little bit of stall in there, not a whole lot, but some really insane prophecy cards, especially Ransack, and Steel Sword is in there, kind of as a 2-cost crushing blow if you think about it. If you can get it, squeeze it in the early game, get around a guard. And that's really what the whole deck is about getting around guard creatures. Big guard creatures, often this deck just doesn't care about them in the late game. Even the 1-drops don't even care about it. Alright, once again, first game, first things first is the mulligan. With this deck, as I hinted on in the intro, you really just don't want almost any spells whatsoever, no actions. Just get those out of there. Go for your creatures early on. And try to make as much damage early game as possible. Mudcrab Ankle Snapper is more damage than the Blood Sorceress. Shrieking Harpy is kind of irritating. It's also really difficult to tell what kind of deck the opponent's running. Of course, we're going to assume that it's Prophecy Battle Mage. In order to just get the most stuff on the board as early as possible, we're just going to ring out the Ward Crafter. Blighted Elite pretty much confirms the Prophecy Battle Mage angle. However, we're going to need to hit face anyway, because that's pretty much the only way we win. We can accept the Prophecy. And here we make a really big mistake. I actually meant to put the House Kinsman on the right and the Blood Sorceress on the left. The Blood Sorceress dies anyway. Or, let me see if I remember this correctly. Sharpshooter Scout comes down after this, yeah. House Kinsman would have traded with the Blighted Elite. However, this way we get more damage over time to the enemy's face. There we are, there's the Sharpshooter Scout. So it didn't matter where that positioning was. It would have been a bad position, though, because he could have traded a 4-3 in. That would have been a really nasty trade. Another Prophecy as expected. However, we leave up our last gasp guy, just in case. We're able to firebolt what he puts down, however. He does play around that. He plays around the trade, actually. Puts it on a very weak creature, though. I'm surprised he didn't put it on one of his 3 health minions.
We will seize our own fate.
There's the 3rd rune down. Sorry, 4th rune down. We're drawing some of our burn. It's good to see that. Hopefully we can hit some prophecies too. I don't think we're dead this turn because he didn't play Northwind Outpost. That's pretty much the only way you can live against one of those things. Or die against one of those things. Sharpshooter Scout kind of hurts. Lightning Bolt the 2-1. Because anything else deals more damage. However, we do have some reach. We have the Thievery, and we have the Firebolt on the House Kinsman, triggering his last gasp, getting us the win. Despite triggering all those opposing prophecies. Going up against a mage. And even at this rank, it seems like tons of the mages around our control variant. It doesn't really matter, we draw a curve on going first, and so that's best we can ask for, especially creature-based curves. Of course, if that House Kinsman were a crushing blow, we'd ditch him right away. Enemy locks in the Firebolt. We get the guaranteed 3 damage to face. 1 cost crushing blow to face to start it out. Spider Worker, not typical at all. So we swing in first. Then we uses a Piercing Javelin. Expensive piece of removal there. Even though we play the House Kinsman on the left, despite the opponent potentially having a way to change the creature. Now, if that had been a Hive Defender, oh, that would have been brutal. So we break another rune. And just trying to make sure that he doesn't get that trade there. Didn't matter, he got the removal for it anyway. And now things are starting to look pretty bad for us. We just have one item that we can't equip to anything. Some burn and 2 stall cards. However, stall cards are not useless against control. Eventually, they're going to have a board and they're going to want to try to kill you. And that's where Winter's Grasps come in real handy, because you can actually use them to basically draw you another card and ramp you 1 Magicka, because it prevents them from winning the game. And most control decks will win the game through a very large board. So we go ahead and get our cycle in from the Shadow Shift. We're holding onto 10 damage from the hand. The opponent does remove 3 damage from the board and triggers a really, really sick Ransack Prophecy. However, that Sweet Roll is a viable target to equip with the Steel Sword. So we go ahead and do that. Hit another Prophecy. Lightning Bolt, didn't really matter. It was probably going to get removed next turn anyway. And we're still holding on to that 10 damage, so we're going to go ahead and set up for next turn kill, unless he pulls out some heals. That's what we're really scared of.
Behold my power. I am death.
Ooh, we get another Prophecy. He's going to need a bit more heal. Doesn't look like he has it. If he had a Knight and then flickered that instead with a Knight to Remember, then he would have actually been out of range. But that was a pretty sick double Ransack Prophecy that game. Not sure he would have been that aggressive had he known what was inside of my deck. Next match, we're up against another Battle Mage. And we draw some early removal, which is actually pretty decent, even though we really, really, really need to get our very few creatures in the deck instead of our actions and removal, prophecies, and such. We still value being able to take out, to combat early. And the Relentless Raider is pretty vulnerable to the Ward Crafter. Man, he's going all in. But we're able to get that trade. And continue to develop. Unfortunately, if he has another Elit, then he's going to be able to break one of his own runes now that we've hit him with the Mud Crab. But again, just as in the first game, we have to take these risks. We're somewhat forced to do so. However, the Corsair ship implies that he's running less prophecies and more charged creatures. A bit heavier. So maybe we have a better chance. We weigh the odds and we decide that that it's better to just gamble here on the chance of hitting a prophecy in order to be able to see what we can draw first. Yep, there's a raiding party. And a rapid shot, he's able to full clear. We had 8 damage ready to go, and now that is 0. That's the interesting thing about the defensive capabilities of charged Battle Mage. They are not to be underestimated. So we decided to go ahead and put that guy in the shadow lane in order to protect him against. Yep, there's another raiding party.
I have no fear of you, coward.
Relentless Raider. He's setting up for some big burst. Yep, he's ready to start wailing. Not playing around the prophecy right there, which could have been a negative. But he was not punished for it. He was punished for pushing that far, though. We get some free development. And the shackle isn't going to matter a whole lot. Getting a 2-1 with charge is, as we're able to deliver 2 more damage straight to the dome. That Lightning Bolt Prophecy going to the face.
We will seize our own fate.
With the Relentless Raider proc, that is really, really pushing us very in dangerously low territory. Rampaging Minotaur, Battle Rage Orc, 2 damage off lethal. He's able to clear. However, we were able to guarantee the lethal with the Blood Sorceress. Very happy to see both of those cards getting demonstrated in that instance. So as you can see, this deck boasts quite a bit of up and over techniques in the form of usually actions via burn, but also some creature effects. Most of the creatures in this deck actually apply damage, sometimes only if they survive a turn or by random chance, to the enemy's face through guard creatures. And that really brings the deck's synergies about against decks that feature many guard creatures, such as Scout and Control Mage. This deck shines. However, those decks might not be too prevalent in certain metas, and this deck does struggle a little bit when doing combat against other aggressive decks. However, there are a few heal effects through the House Kinsman and Thievery that sometimes, if you draw just right, you can pull out a victory against those decks. It really is a balancing act, though, between aggression and defense, especially with your actions, and when to start building up damage towards face. It takes a lot of time to get used to. If you have any questions or comments or suggestions of your own, please feel free to put them in the comments below. And remember, go crazy.